On YouTube, Hannah has asked the question, how do we know we can really trust God? Last week we addressed the question, is God real? But now we ask the question, okay, maybe God exists, but can I entrust myself to him? Like in the famous trust exercise.
Go.
Can we fall into the embrace of a God who will catch us? Well, that depends. What kind of God are we talking about?
There are all sorts of higher powers you could think rule the world. Maybe you think laws of nature are the highest authority. They ultimately call the shots in the universe. Or you think biological necessity is the highest power. Our need to survive and reproduce is the ultimate imperative. Or you think there's a God. But alright, which God? Maybe he's a Thor figure, distant, powerful, but uninvolved. At best, he's ready to hurl a thunderbolt. Can you trust any of these gods? It all depends on which God we're talking about.
Imagine you were convinced by last week that there is a God over and above this world. You might think, well, direct me to the manager because I wish to make a complaint.
I asked for a room with a view.
Well, may I ask what you were expecting to see out of a Torquay hotel bedroom window? Sydney Opera House, perhaps? The hanging gardens of Babylon? Herds of wildebeest sweeping majestically?
When you look at the state of this world, and when you discover there is a manager in charge, why wouldn't you complain?
Christopher Hitchens was someone who looked at the world and imagined a God that no one would want to trust.
It is the wish to be a slave. It is the desire that there be an unalterable, unchallengeable, tyrannical authority who can convict you of thought crime while you are asleep, who can subject you, who must indeed subject you, to a total surveillance around the clock, every waking and sleeping minute of your life, I say of your life, before you're born, and even worse, and where the real fun begins, after you're dead. A celestial North Korea. Who wants this to be true? Who but a slave desires such a ghastly fate?
Can you trust a celestial North Korea? No. If Christopher Hitchens is right about the kind of God that exists, then no, we can't trust him. But the Bible speaks of a different kind of God. Hebrews 1 verse 3 says the Son is the exact representation of the Father's being. Whatever God is like, he's like Jesus. So the big question is, can you trust the Jesus God?
I get that phrase from an Iranian woman who came to a talk I was giving and was lapping up all the teaching she could get about Jesus. I asked her why. She said she grew up as a Muslim, but that her uncle had given her a copy of the Gospels. She got halfway through Luke's Gospel and declared, God cannot be the God of the Ayatollahs, that's the religious authorities. He must be the Jesus God. Finally, she found a God she could trust. Lord Byron once said, if God is not like Jesus Christ, he ought to be. With Hebrews 1 in mind, we say there's good news. God is exactly like Jesus Christ. Here is a God we can trust, one who gave himself for us completely. This God wins our trust.
As a parent, I'm always saying, I will, I promise, we will. If my child doubts, I meet those doubts with promises. God is no different. To meet his children's doubts, he makes promises. God is constantly reminding us of the cross and saying, my arms are open, you can fall into them. Trust me. That's why Romans 10 says faith comes by hearing. Faith is not pushed out of us by our willpower. Faith is pulled out of us by God's promises. So we need to constantly put ourselves in the way of God's promises. That's why we have the Bible, church, preaching, the Lord's Supper and so on. We need to hear of God's trustworthiness. Then we'll find ourselves trusting him.
In Matthew chapter 4, Satan does the ultimate trust exercise with Jesus. He dares him to hurl himself down from the temple and the angels will catch him. Jesus did not put God to the test on that day, but at the end of the Gospels, he did hurl himself down into the deepest abyss. He wasn't caught by anyone on Good Friday. And he did it not to save himself, but to give himself for us. Is this a God who you can trust? A God who gives himself utterly for you? There are many gods unworthy of our trust, but in Jesus, and really only in Jesus, we have a God we can trust.
One.
Hi guys, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed that episode of Thorny Questions. We'll be talking about this a bit more tomorrow at 1 PM on our Facebook page, Speak Life UK live. So do come and check that out, or you can pick it up later on YouTube if you're watching this later now. Thank you though for watching, and do give us a like on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube to keep up to date with what we're doing.